Hello, Women's Business Club. We are coming to you live, and today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity, a subject that may be completely fascinating for some of you, totally boring for others you, and just way over your head for others of you. But it's a subject that affects all of us, whether we enjoy talking about it, whether we know much about it, whether we're completely ignorant or an expert. It affects every single one of us. And so there is a responsibility on us as business owners to at least be aware, to at least educate ourselves a little bit about what cybersecurity is, what we need to do about it, and how we can protect our businesses, ourselves, and our clients. So this is off the back of an article that was published by BBC today, and I'll just give you a quick read. We have the headline that says, "Major UK cyber attack is when, not if," says security chief. And so this is the article that we want to discuss today. On a national level, on a major level, this is something that we probably can't do anything about. But what they're saying is that the country has been lucky to avoid a Category 1 attack targeting infrastructure like energy companies and financial services. So we are safe. We have been well protected in the UK. We haven't had a Category 1 attack. And in a moment, I'm hoping to talk to an expert about what this actually means. What is a level 1 attack? How does that affect us? What has this got to do with us at all? Because we're just small business owners. But I think it's good, as I said, to be aware, to at least know what's going on in the world around us. We even have the head of the British Army saying that they need to protect, the UK needed to protect itself from cyber warfare from Russia. So this is quite a major thing. This is quite a big deal. It says here, Mr. Martin told the paper, "I think it is a matter of when and not if, and we will be fortunate to come to an end of a decade without having a Category 1 attack." So there is something looming, but it's the press, the media, they like drama, they like to sensationalize things, of course, otherwise it would be boring to read. However, I want us to bring it down to our level. And what I mean by that is that we're not a national, energy or finance company. We're not running a bank. There may be bankers in here, but I don't think there's the owner of a bank or an energy company in our group at this stage. Perhaps there will be in the future. So let's bring it back a little bit to home and let's look at what it says in another article on the BBC website. Sue Arnold, the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner for Staffordshire. Now, she has been affected. She bought tickets for a music festival on what turned out to be a fake website. It's one of the reasons she has taken such an interest in trying to learn more about the impact of online crime and then setting up a conference about it. So there is a very practical example of how it can affect us in our everyday life. Buying things online. Are we savvy? Do we know how to find out if a site is safe for buying, for shopping online? Are we putting our card details into any old site thinking that it's a trustworthy site? Do we know how to protect ourselves when buying online? And equally, are we offering protection to our customers when they come onto our website? Is our website safe? Can they trust our website? Are we losing business because we haven't put the necessary things in place on our websites so that people can safely buy from us? These are very important questions. Now, in terms of cyber war and cyber attacks, I can't comment on this, and I'm hoping that Kyle and Danielle from Black Nova Design will hop on with me in a bit, and I'll chat to them, and perhaps they can shed some light. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear from you. Do you know anything at all about how to protect yourself on the internet? Do you know how to protect your families, your business? Do you know how to shop safely? I would love to hear from you. Just leave a comment in the box or jump online. There is a link in the comments below. where you can jump online and actually join me on camera and chat to me about your concerns or your expertise if you're an expert in this field. So just a little advert break while we wait for Carl to jump on. On the 9th of February, right here in this group at 11 a.m., we are going to have an in-depth talk about the upcoming GDPR law and what it requires of us as business owners. And that will be with expert Jody Reed. She'll be jumping on at 11 o'clock on Friday, the 9th of February, to talk to us about GDPR so that we are fully equipped when this law comes into place in May of this year. So please put that in your calendar, pop it in your diary, make sure that you are here 11 o'clock, 9th of February, to hear what Jody Reed has to say about GDPR, how it affects us and what we need to do to be compliant, to be within the law, because apparently the fines are very hefty and they're going to be very strict about them. So please make a note of that, pop it in your diary, and make sure that you are here in this group on that date. Right, so back to cybersecurity. A very basic, the most basic thing I can think of to say that we could look out for is a little padlock on our browsing bar. So if you go to the internet and you type in www.amazon.co.uk, on the left, you should see a little green padlock that's closed, and next to it, it says secure. At least on Chrome, that's what it says. I imagine different browsers, it would look slightly different. But the point is, there is a very quick and easy way for you to tell if the site that you're on is secure. So there will definitely be a padlock no matter what browser, but as to where on the browser, it could vary. So let's go onto the Women's Business Club website. And we should have our little padlock in place because we are HTTPS. So in our case, you will see every time you go on the Women's Business Club website, it will say HTTPS, which means that we have security, we have a SSL certificate on our site, which then makes us more secure than a site that doesn't. So your website, as an absolute minimum, should have an SSL certificate. And again, you can chat to Carl and Danielle at Black Nova if you want to know more about that. I believe that their websites and their hosting comes standard with SSL, and I'm hoping that many other providers will be offering that as a standard. Then the other thing you can have is there will be something on, so let me pop onto Amazon so I can, on the Amazon.co.uk. So there we go. Hop onto Amazon. This is a shopping site. So they also have their HTTPS, as I mentioned, but they have a little padlock and it says secure. So hop onto any site that you use regularly, and especially if it's a very popular one like Amazon, you'll very quickly see that that is a secure site. Now, I can't give an example of an unsecure site. It'll take me find one because hopefully I'm not using them. But if you do go onto a site that requires any details, requires you to log in using Facebook, requires your card details, just check that it's HTTPS. And if it requires shopping details, then make sure it has a little padlock that's closed, not open, closed padlock, and make sure that it's got some form of green light saying that the site is safe. So that's the very basic that we can do to protect ourselves and to protect people using our websites. So if in doubt, please find out. There's a nice comment here that's just been added, so I'm going to show that up on the screen. Top tips for online shopping. Type the website's name into a search engine and review the results. That's a great tip. This is all in the comments, so you can read along if you want. Look at the website's connection type. Check the site security status in your browser's address bar. Evaluate the website URL. Look for bad English on the site. That is such a dead giveaway. Watch out for invasive advertising. Use the website's contact page. Use a Whois search to research who has registered the website's domain. So you can really get into it. So this is from WikiHow, how to find out if a website is legitimate. So there's some fantastic tips. So do have a look at them. I'll take them out the front of my face now. Right, so Kyle, I see you. Kyle is on his way to join. Okay, great. So we're waiting patiently to hear from this expert. It's going to be really good to chat to Kyle because I am out of my depth here and I can only waffle for so long and then I'm going to run out of things to say because I don't know much about that. Danielle, why don't you hop on in the meantime and introduce Black Nova to us? Tell us a bit about your business and then when Kyle gets in, he can specifically talk to us about the security things. So just hop on, click the link. I'll see you in the lobby here. And thanks for posting the links in the comments, but I'd love to speak to you. So just click on the link and then we should see your face, your beautiful face. And then we can chat about a little bit about what Black Nova does. Are there any other experts out there who would like to weigh in at this point and talk to us about cybersecurity? I know last time I did this, last Tuesday, apparently there were people in the lobby and I didn't see them. So my eyes are continually checking the lobby. So if anybody does come on, that we can chat to them. Aha, I see. Kyle Holmes is here. 3, 2, 1. There we go. So here we go. Welcome, Kyle. We've been eagerly awaiting you because I've run out of things to say.
That's all right.
We really want to find out a bit more about, first of all, the cybersecurity threat that BBC's reported, to find out a bit more about that. But first, tell us about your business. Tell us about your background. So what does Black Nova do and what's your particular area of expertise?
Black Nova originally started as a web design graphics sort of area, but where I've been working with the emergency services in networking and hardware, we decided to expand into bigger areas like server maintenance, IT, CCTV, and all sorts of that sort of stuff. My main excellence is in cybersecurity and also in Wi-Fi installations. It's one of the two bits that I'm very, very keen on.
Okay, well, so you're definitely the person we need to be speaking to. So first of all, with regards to the BBC article that was published today, how does this cyber threat affect us, small business owners or internet users at home?
It's like every day. Every day is a threat. It's just got a little bit bigger it's just in the news. I mean, every day you run a business, you should be looking at security as a key factor. As you're probably aware, a lot of the GDPR stuff, regulations are coming into place as well soon about data protection. If you're not looking at security as a first port of call, you are missing a very vital area. I mean, if you lose one little bit of data from a customer and you get done for it for law, it's a big law case. It could also be somebody might break in and it might be something very fundamental, whereas they delete your backups. And if you lose that, for example, in my business, if I was to lose my backups, I'd be in a very sticky situation, especially with my customers, if I couldn't restore something. So in a day-to-day job, in all of your businesses, security is a very key factor, from just storing a little bit of your files, from backup files, to just not getting any viruses on your PC. I mean, you know how much it is. It's annoying when you go home and you've got pop-ups popping up everywhere. Just day-to-day security is what we should be doing all the time, no matter what the threat level is. Okay.
So for those of us who are completely ignorant and we just think cyber security is a national issue that we don't have to pay any attention to, what sorts of things are those of us who have websites or who use the internet, which is probably everyone, what sorts of things should we be looking out for, and how can we protect ourselves? As you know, the very basic stuff, should we be doing?
Very basic stuff is it goes from very, very simple stuff for like an SSL certificate. They have multiple bonuses from security.
Supported SSL certificates. Probably half the people watching don't even know what that is. So can you break it down for us and why we need it and the dangers of not having it and how we can get one?
Okay, so SSL certificates are an encrypted certificate that when your data, so when you type in, say, your telephone number or your email address on a contact form and you send it to somebody, if you don't have an SSL certificate, it doesn't, in a way, scramble the message up before it gets sent. So when you send that over to the company and they're not using SSL certificate, you're sending that as a plain message. So, for example, if you were sending your bank details across, you don't want the perpetrator that's breaking in to be able to see those exact details of your card payment or whatever. With an SSL, what it does is it scrambles the message up, so it's a lot more difficult for the hacker to be able to break in and decipher the actual original message. So that's the key principle of an SSL. There's other factors of SSLs, as in compensation prices. So the free SSLs cover up to about 10 grand, possibly more, for a breach. And obviously, as you pay more, the more coverage you get on each SSL.
So the provider actually are insuring it. They actually, if there's a breach, they will pay you out. Is that what you're saying?
The SSLs have insurance on them. They have a coverage of insurance on them. I believe some of the GoDaddies are up to £1 million they will cover.
That's amazing. So not only are we offering security to our users, but we actually have insurance for ourselves as well if there is some sort of breach, which is fantastic.
Yes, because the SSL isn't doing its job if it gets breached. So therefore, you're paying for a service that's not doing anything, so they have to cover an outage.
Lots of small businesses will attempt to build their own website when they start. They'll use the whatever's out there, and so they're very unlikely to even consider or know what SSL is, but they're selling things online. So if they were doing that and they had to watch the budget, could they approach you? Could you help with SSL, or where would they go to if they're building their own website to get help with the SSL certificate?
SSL should come free with most hosts now. So like I was saying about the insurance levels, most hosts will give a free SSL for up to about 10,000. They may be a lot less depending on who they're using, but that's the base point. At least if you're taking payments and you're doing the starting points, that way you'll get around the budget, because if it's free, brilliant, you don't have to pay anything.
And what about sites like Squarespace and Wix and all of these sites? Do they automatically have SSL certificates as well?
They should do, yes, because as like you may have noticed with the Google algorithm, Google has said that all websites need to have HTTPS, which is the SSL certificate. Otherwise, they get the big banner message that says not secure. So a lot of the providers, even the site builders like Wix and Squarespace and so forth, they're all providing HTTPS for free.
Okay. So, ladies, have a look at what website you're using. Have a look at what you're offering your customers, and make sure that whatever you built your website on, that you do have an SSL certificate. And if you have any trouble, just get in touch with Carl and he can point you in the right direction. We're going to pop his website and contact details in the comment box. So that's the very basic thing that we can do to protect ourselves and our customers. What else can we do?
So we go from SSL. The next bit is obviously, depending on if you're a server admin or if you're just a person that's starting up a website, is when, for example, if you say download a WordPress theme, make sure that you're getting it from a legitimate source. Do a review on the company before you download it, so that you know that it hasn't been tampered with anything. So whatever you add onto your website, make sure you get it from the original owners.
So just downloading it in the plugin section in WordPress is not necessarily safe?
From WordPress, it's safe because it comes from WordPress's repository. Whereas if you go onto Google and search WordPress theme, there's tons and tons of websites that give free WordPress themes or paid ones. The only problem with that is that it could have been manipulated by a hacker already, which will then implement malware, which then spreads to all your other users and so forth. And then you can go a little bit further after that. You can go to some companies offer what they call Site Protect, which is a antivirus / malware scanner for your website. and you pay a monthly subscription, and basically what it does is stick a badge on your website that says this has been scanned on this day at this time, and it's safe. Good way for you to be notified if there's any breaches, but also a good way of giving a little bit of trust and confidence to your customers.
Yes. So one of my hobby websites that I have, actually, I discovered that in the post, somebody had gone into the posts and put a link to some dodgy site in the post. Now, how on earth did they get into that website in order to put their link to their dodgy site in the post? That is frightening that can happen.
Yeah. So the two classic ways of WordPress, especially, I'll focus on WordPress mainly because that's where I specialize. But the main for posts is if you've got comments turned on. If you haven't got any spam protection on your comments, then loads of people can comment and put all sorts of nasty links and whatnot. The other key area is making sure whatever content management system, plugin, or system you're using for your website is absolutely up to date. Don't be scared by updates. If they don't work, then you need to change plugin style, because if the developer's not actively developing all the time and updating it, then there's going to be security flaws there because he doesn't care. If you leave a plugin, for example, it was Revolution Slider a few years back, was one of the largest outbreaks of WordPress break-ins, and a lot of hackers was able to infiltrate all WordPress sites due to the Revolution Slider. It's obviously been patched now, but a lot of people were leaving their plugins out of date, which was then causing people to have backdoors into their website.
Okay.
So the key is when you're doing your website, make sure things are... Apologies, dogs. That'd be the postman.
Another type of security. Get a dog.
Another type of security, get dogs, and they will stop everything. But yeah, the other option is obviously just making sure everything's up to date. It's the same as your PCs. If you're on your PC and you do your own uploading from your PC, make sure your own PC is up to date as well, so you've got no infiltration from there coming up. Because that's the easiest way of getting broken into, is not from the outside, but if somebody was to upload a file that somebody says to you, oh, put this on your website, it works really well, it's a good plugin, you plug it in and you upload it, you open the back door up for them because you've done it, they didn't have to do any work.
So just to recap, the first thing you said was protected comments. Now, how do we get our comments protected?
So I'll go back to WordPress, but WordPress offers a plugin called Ask-A-Met, which is a spam protection software that's built into WordPress. You have to have a subscription with them. I believe it's free for the basic version, and I think there's other ones like I think it's Secure Fence, which is a WordPress basically firewall in a sense. It notifies you of false logins, somebody trying to break in and whatnot, so you can react to it. It also stops spam and so forth. So there are a couple of good steps to start to protect your comments. Also, the other thing is question yourself and say, do I actually need comments on that page? Do I actually need to have somebody comment on that page? If not, turn them off. There's one less likely place that they can try.
That's a good point. I think we tend to think we need comments on everything, but we don't really, do we? Because it really is a security risk. And then the second thing you said, what was it? So, plugins. That's very interesting because sometimes there's a great plugin, but it says in WordPress that it hasn't been updated in a year or 2 years or something. So that's also a risk, in your opinion, then, using plugins aren't actively being updated.
Yeah,
that's really...
It's like if you was to buy, say, I don't know, you take clothing and you go to a clothing store and they don't change their range for 3-4 years. You'd kind of think, well, has the designer disappeared, or are they just not actively selling, or is it going to be a washout and the company's going to go bust? It's the same with a plugin. If the plugin's not being developed at least every 3, maybe 6 months, I mean, 6 months is a push, but if the architecture doesn't need to be changed because it still works well, fine. But after a year, you kind of think, well, the guy's not even looking at maybe not bug fixes, but just enhancing the plugin, because there is always something better to do. And if they're not doing that, then it's kind of like, well, they seem like they've lost interest. And that's when you start to worry, because as soon as they start losing interest, they start losing interest in security and so forth.
All right. So that's good to know, just to check out if the plugin is active and actively being updated. But so your advice is to download plugins from within WordPress, not from external sources. And if we do, directly from the developer.
Yes.
Surely, if a developer has created a plugin, it should be available within the plugin section of WordPress then.
Not always, because there is a few third-party ones. For example, there was one called Default to GD, which was a, without trying to get too technical, on a server there is two versions. There's GD imaging and ImageMagick, and certain hosts didn't provide ImageMagick, so WordPress would then glitch. So if you install the plugin Default to GD, it would then allow you to use your media gallery correctly and not have any issues.
Okay.
Problem was you couldn't download that from the repository in WordPress. So you'd have to go to the developer's website, download it, and then upload it yourself. No problem with that, because it's a very active plugin. It's just that you're off looking somewhere else already.
Yes, okay. So just to be very mindful of that. So what other tips can you give us to be safe?
Best thing is just being vigilant. Just keeping an eye on what you're doing. I mean, the most in every security that we do, the biggest security flaw is yourself. It's what you do, because if you let anybody that you're going to allow on your website, for example, another administrator, make sure you know that they're not got a background of doing something wrong. I know that's not as easy as said than done, but it's like if you're going to give them administrator permissions, maybe give them restricted administration permissions first. Let them build themselves up, prove to themselves, and then give them full access. Because the problem is, as soon as you give somebody full access, they own your website.
Yes, they can even knock you off if they wanted to, couldn't they?
Yes, in certain cases, yes.
Yeah. And then in terms of users, so we've looked at us as website providers. We provide a product or service, and we need to protect ourselves and protect our customers. But is there anything in particular we can look out for when we are shopping online or using other businesses online?
So the first one is obviously the SSL certificate, like we were saying. For example, if we all look at the top left-hand corner of this web page, we've got secure in the corner with a green icon. We know that using HTTPS, which means we know our data is encrypted at this current moment. So if we're going to go to a website, when we're going to buy, we want to see that green logo. We want to see a lovely green padlock. If we don't see that, I'd be very, very wary of what you put on there. It's a bit hit and miss, because, I mean, if they're paying through PayPal, then the PayPal take your details, not the website. But it's still, I'm personally myself, I wouldn't want to do it, because I'd be like, they're not encrypting it, they're not bothered by it. What happens if they get a breach?
Okay. Right, well, we've been chatting for a while now, so thank you so much for your help. What we'll do is we'll pop your details into the comments if Danielle hasn't already done it, just so that people can get in touch with you if they might want more help with their websites and their security. And and I think the main thing that we need to be doing is just making sure that we are aware that there are risks, and we can't just be hopping on to websites and using them or providing our businesses and not really taking care of the absolute basics of security, because people do get into your sites. They can do things. I've seen it firsthand. I've had my PayPal hacked. I've had all sorts of things happen over the years, and you don't think it will happen to you, and then it happens, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I better educate myself. So take time to educate yourself. So thanks so much for joining us today, Carl. We really appreciate it. I know it was last minute, but we never know what the BBC is going to report on, so we have to be ready to jump on the story. So have a great day, and when we'll keep in contact through the comments underneath this post, because I'm sure people will come up with questions.
Yeah.
So that's goodbye to Kyle. If I can, go. Bye. So I hope that was useful. There's a lot. There's so much more, but we just wanted to touch on the basics and just give you an idea to help you become aware. If you have questions or concerns, pop them in the comments, and we will keep checking in every now and then. We'll ask Carl to check in and other experts so that we can answer your questions and make sure that your site is safe. Make sure that you are offering your customers or your clients a safe place on the internet to interact with you. And that just generally we don't get caught out. like I said, we think it won't happen to us, and then it does. And we're like, oh, why didn't I listen? So educate yourself, pop your questions in the comments, and I will see you, next Tuesday. Don't forget about our GDPR specialist on the 9th of February, 11 a.m. Susie will be on Thursday with her social media live. Jen Hall will be on Wednesday with her Facebook live. So there's a lot going on in this group. We'd love to hear from you. Send in your questions to jordan@womensbusiness.club, or requests for particular speaker, or requests for absolutely anything. This is your group. This group has to work for you. So tell us what you want to see, and we'll do our best to get it on here for you. So have a great day, ladies. Bye.